only thing, but it's the worst case scenario in every single lane, and there's 4 lanes. And it's just because the biggest lane got closed. But the biggest lane is the ease of access for the second lane, which that's closed too. So in between the 2 lanes being closed, you and your dog line 1, you and your dog line 2, I can't do anything. And I was describing to someone, if there are spiders the size of your head, it would be like Jumanji 2.0. And this is actually with Jumanji. They got it right with the water inside of a house and it was flooded, and alligators go in there. If you go in there with those gators, they're going to eat you. Emu is the size of a bear if it's far away versus if it's up close, and so a bear is the size of a warthog. And warthogs are smart, and they have tusks, and tusks are like bull to get her on the ground. That's why when ants circle like something, they're trying to get to fall over so they can trample it. But snakes outside. So here's the dream. I was trying to get outside because all these spiders. I had a different dream that I was trying to get away from outside all of these gates, fences, and jumping them because they had snakes everywhere. So just imagine the transition from going inside to outside. If you saw bears coming in from a forest and like 8 of them and like a pack of bears trying to get inside the house as you're trying to get outside with them. Even if you get past the bears and you're outside now, you're trying to get away from all these fences that have snakes everywhere. So if it was just one dream, luckily I woke up after 1 minute of just not being able to get by hundreds of these spiders if I'm inside, or hundreds of these snakes if I'm outside, or 8 or 9 bears coming out of the woodworks. So you got to clear the waterfront and then come out from the woodworks, and it's kind of the same thing if you're dodging all 3 of these animals within the time period of them ignoring you and you just getting in the clear. That's the name of like Frogger on steroids, that video game. Yeah. All right, my bike's still here. I left it here overnight. In the last 2 days, I've had one person, I guess 2 people, I guess they're your friends. If someone offers you a bike, they're your friend. Offer me like a mountain bike, and then another person did. It's just the second person. This is the second time they've offered me a mountain bike, and it's really funny. I had deja vu because we're at the same location, and it's last time I didn't want a cigarette, and this time I had a chewing tobacco. So this nicotine sensation with me and him at the same spot, and him asking me the same question, just like begs this repetitive motion. And that's why a lot of people undergo this repetitive motion, and it's like internal. If it's in the afterlife, they say that's the part where you get scared because you know it's not going to change. So it's a repeat prima facie. The afterlife. If you're in the wrong place, it's really scary because there's no changing it. That's why this one matters. So avoiding things that are repeating, even though history doesn't, that's how our memory works, is like, it's really hard to split the divide, but you judge a tree by its fruits. It's the only way. That's what Jesus said, he's the only way. But that's what he said, so obviously put 2 and 2 together. But no, really, instead of like math problems, I'm just going to go over like stuff that I've seen and documented in my lifetime, and it's better than word problems because I think it's movie worthy because it is easier at depicting law if you have examples that you can relate to. I've had 2 officers say don't go certain places, and I haven't, so it's just hard to avoid them when it's a sidewalk is the place. But you can be in a sidewalk in like an entire town, and if a cop says you can't be in the town, this was the exit locust. I don't know if it's a town, but it's a giant area, and the charge dropped, but it's still that doesn't change what the cop said last. I've had 2 cops tell me that I can't be in certain areas, and so I haven't. Once you've been warned, it's the second time. Obviously, I've respected the first warning, but it's 2 of them, and if this keeps racking up, it's, you know, like this whole designated area where you're not allowed to go outside, and the more that cops say you can't be places and you've been warned, it's kind of embarrassing. Because if you're honoring them and you never go there the rest of your life, you're banished. Wow. Actually, there's 3 places, but none of these were good people who were telling me this, so it's, you know, I respect them. It's just to banish someone from a place and you have a clean record your entire life is embarrassing if you keep racking up places where you're banished. If a city gets flooded by water, it's like Noah's Ark or Atlantis, the lost city. And there's only been on record that I know of like 2 towns that have been flooded for just like a week or two. This was Katrina, and then another one. This was down south. This never happens, but if you're on a boat, it's basically your house is flooded if it's going down. So you don't want animals in it like alligators, or in the movie Jumanji it was alligators. Versus if the house was full of spiders and it took like 3 minutes to get out of it because the house was so big, I'd rather be in there with like hundreds of spiders because they're the size of my head, versus inside of a house that's flooded with like 1 or 2 alligators, because that would be a lot more dangerous because they're bigger your size. That's why size counts. You're never supposed to run from a bear, but if it's like 4 bears together, you're not going to beat all of them. You might beat one bear. That's the great thing. The God puts in safe fields where like bears don't usually go together unless there's like 1 bear and 2 cubs, and you can beat up 2 cubs and take on 1 bear. But other than that, any more than 1 bear your body size or 1 alligator your body size, if they're in packs, you're done. That's why it's dangerous in water with alligators when they gang up, because that's like a wolf pack. Never turn your back on a wolf pack. But if it's a bunch of coyotes, treat them like geese and they'll move aside slowly, or it'll get popped off. I mean, if I have no other directions and it's one path, I've accomplished it where I've made a pack of coyotes move so I can go through the trail and get to where I was going. So it's zoology in comparison, but it's just the gate where, if you're used to it, it's Cain and Abel, but with animals, is this whole zoo. The biggest animal and then the smartest animal, communications, and put them furthest away from each other at either sides of the zoo. And so this was me in the Dells. I heard an emu and it was banging its stomach. It sounded like a drum. If you've never seen those construction orange drums on the road, this was the sound of the emu's hollow belly, or like in The Wizard of Oz when the Tin Man hits his stomach, it's the sound of that empty drum barrel. And this was this emu making its stomach do that. And so when this emu was doing that, I was trying to ignore it because there's other people that were with me. And so when this emu did it, I actually turned to it because it couldn't get annoyed any more obvious, because I was standing within feet of it. It was staring right at me and I was trying not to look at it. I've had this sensation with 2 adults once where they're staring at me for some reason that they know and I know that they know. And I either laugh or just try and ignore it the whole time, or laugh because I'm ignoring it the whole time and they're still staring at me. But it was, for this time, an emu was doing it, and it was staring at me and pumping its chest, making a drum noise, like an oiled drum barrel noise. And so this had the whole zoo alert. You know how birds communicate and they chirp? This emu was pumping its stomach and sounding like a drum. And so at the opposite side of the zoo, as we're leaving the party I was with, there was like this raven, and parrots, they can talk, like Pollywanna Cracker, but apparently this ravens can talk too, and it was saying hi, 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 and waddling back and forth. And it's like, this is because the emu scoped me out and it made that noise. The raven knew that I was there, so it was closest to the exit when we were leaving. And I'll never forget that, because this raven was hopping back and forth. I've had my walking get mimicked by humans twice. Once was this little girl in the parking lot who I just saw earlier today. She saw me and then she started waddling back and forth with her arms out like a minion on the animated movie. Another guy was at Milwaukee, and this was at Summerfest, and I was walking fast and I had to stop behind them because there was a whole line of people, and he looked behind me and he started like doing this side walking gesture back and forth. It's like a little dance for like a few seconds. And so 2 people have imitated my walking, along with 1 raven at the Dells, all in Wisconsin. And I'm mentioning this is because this is a physical interpretation of a physical interpretation. You have a verbal interpretation or a physical one, and it's interpretive dancing. They're like when bears become adults, right before they're big cubs, it's like the size of a warthog. And so that's why a coyote too, it's smaller. So if a bat flies at your face, this cop was on the TV because she was grabbing her dog over a bridge. I've had to drop my fishing pole over a bridge and it stuck to my hand, and so I had to pull it over the bridge. So I know what this cop was doing, but someone videotaped her. She was pulling a dog over a bridge because it had jumped over and it was hanging on it by its leash, or else it would have fallen over. So she pulled over the dog, and so then this dog only jumped over the bridge because it was saving a bat from flying at the face of the cop. So this raven, if it was out, it would have probably had this emu handle me, and then it would have flied at my face, and together they both would have got me out. This was like this turkey that wanted to drop on my head, but I had my dog with me. My dog probably would have got it, but it did follow me, this turkey, for like 1 minute. I've had a red-winged bird try and fly at my skull. I was alone. My dog went to jump at it, but these birds, they want to like go after you. This is what they do. They'll follow you for 2 minutes, very close to your skull, like for 3 feet, and it's right above you and you can't reach it, so you're shooing it like a fly. And no, if you've ever seen 10 flies together, one time I saw them coming out of a dashboard, and it's like, that's when skunks are in the front, aka a dead body, because they go after the rotting flesh. So if you ever see flies together, it's usually flies are alone, so it's like shooing one fly is like shooting one red-winged bird that was going at you. But if you see flies together, it's usually because they're eating rotten flesh or dung or trash. Because other than coyotes being in a pack, flies don't be in a pack really. But that's why it's important to note that you probably can't take out wolves, but you probably might be able to take out coyotes. I made like a pack of them move because they saw me. They just treat them like giant beasts and you'll be right. What if there was one wolf or a coyote that was going after you? Then you might not, they'll just chase you. It's like a shark in the water. It'll just chase you and hunt you down and keep biting you. There's a dog that chased me. So there's 2 birds and 1 dog that have chased me for over, the dog was the only one that I actually ran. The birds, I was just walking. But it was over 2 minutes with the birds, and this dog chased me probably for like 1 minute. But at this full duration, they were trying to eat me the whole time, and this is what it would be like. I had a dream that it would be like inside of a house, and there'd be hundreds of these spiders all the size of your head, and they'd just poke their head out like the coyotes who, if you treat them like geese, they'll move. These spiders didn't mind that I was inside their house and there's cobwebs everywhere. In every room I was trying not to touch the walls and go through the doors, but every time I would go through the door with all these webs, I'd see at least like 4 spiders within like 6 feet of me, and they'd just poke their heads out to see if I was looking at what they were doing behind their cobwebs every time like I went into a new room, and like just treat them like wolves or geese, and they didn't bother me. But if I would like tried to kill one, they all probably would have jumped on me like these rats in New York trying to kill this lady. There was like 30 of them that got died with newspapers that were just flipping them off and stomping on them, but over 100 came after her, and they were all trying